Alien Girl was blinded and spayed for her sins, but after 15 years, her sight returns thanks to. On the distant planet of Zithra, under twin suns and swirling violet skies, life was strange but beautiful. Cities floated above crystal blue rivers, and forests glimmered with trees that sang in the wind. Among the inhabitants was a young alien girl named Lyra, known for her curiosity and bright spirit. Her skin shimmered with soft silver hues, her eyes deep pools of violet, but those eyes no longer saw the world. It had happened when she was just a child. A rare storm of plasma lightning had struck near her village. Everyone survived, but Lyra's sight was gone, leaving her in darkness that no one could pierce. Doctors of Zithra tried all methods, but her eyes remained closed to the world. At first, Lyra had cried endlessly. She missed the way the sky glowed at sunset, the way the river sparkled under moonlight, the laughter of friends playing among the floating gardens. She felt trapped in her own body, surrounded by a world she could no longer touch in the way she longed. Her parents, though heartbroken, never gave up. Her mother, Elena, always told her, "Lyra, your mind can see more than your eyes ever could. Trust your senses, trust your heart." Her father, Corin, taught her how to navigate the city by touch, sound, and intuition. Even with her blindness, Lyra learned to move with remarkable grace, running through crowded markets, gliding past trees, and leaping across streams. Despite this, Lyra sometimes felt small and invisible. Other children would play with the holographic light games, racing beams of floating energy through the air. Lyra could only hear their laughter, their shouts, and the shimmer of the energy dancing around them. She longed to join, but the fear of stumbling kept her back. Then came the humans. For centuries, Zithra had little contact with Earth, but a new expedition arrived, led by Captain Elias Thorne. The humans were curious, clever, and unlike any being Lyra had ever met. They built machines that seemed to defy gravity, and they carried tiny devices that could map sound into light, translating the unseen into something tangible. Lyra was fascinated. Though she could not see, she listened intently to their speech, their laughter, their tools humming with energy. Humans had a way of looking at the world that was both simple and brilliant. They asked questions no Zithran had thought to ask, and they solved problems with methods that seemed almost magical. One day, Captain Thorne visited Lyra's village. He had heard of the girl who moved through the city as though she could see. "I want to meet her," he said, his voice calm but firm. "She might teach us more than we can teach her." Lyra's parents were cautious but agreed. The humans had helped the village in small ways, using their technology to repair broken homes after storms and purify water from toxic rivers. They trusted them enough to let Lyra interact with Captain Thorne and his team. When Lyra first met him, she felt nervous. Humans were taller than Zitharans and had strange, soft skin. Their voices were deep and melodic, but she soon realized that Captain Thorne did not see her as weak or fragile. "Your senses are sharper than many I've met," he said, kneeling to her level. "I think your mind can help us explore things we can't yet understand." Over the next weeks, Lyra began spending time with the humans. They taught her about sonar mapping, a method of using sound to understand space. They showed her devices that could project a holographic map of the world based on vibrations and echoes. Lyra's mind, already trained to navigate without sight, adapted quickly. She could hear the tiniest differences in pitch, the faintest echoes from walls and trees. She could see the world in a way that was completely different from those with eyes. Yet she longed for one thing, her sight. At night, she would sit under the violet sky, listening to the distant rivers, the rustle of leaves, and the hum of Zithra's floating cities. She wondered what colors truly looked like, what the sunlight felt like as it danced across her skin, what the expressions on people's faces really meant. Then one evening, as Lyra practiced with a human device called a Lumina Mapper, something strange happened. The device hummed with a soft energy, and Lyra felt a warmth in her eyes. She blinked, and for the briefest moment a tiny spark of light appeared. Her heart raced. She opened and closed her eyes again, nothing. But she knew something had changed. The humans were amazed. "This is unlike anything we've seen," said Dr. Amara Voss, the chief scientist. "Lyra, your eyes might not be completely lost. This energy, it's responding to your neural patterns. I think there's a chance we can restore your sight." Lyra's mind raced. Hope, fear, excitement, all tangled together. Could it really be true? Could she see again after 15 long years? Could she finally experience the beauty she had only imagined? The humans promised to help, but it would not be easy. They explained that her eyes were fragile, that the energy would need careful guidance, and that she would have to learn to process vision again after years of darkness. Lyra nodded, determination sparkling even in her blind eyes. She had faced challenges before. She had learned to navigate a world without sight. Now, she would face the challenge of regaining it. As the twin suns of Zithra dipped below the horizon, painting the skies in hues of orange and violet, Lyra stood at the edge of a floating cliff. The wind whispered in her ears, carrying the scent of flowers and the distant laughter of children. Somewhere in that symphony of sound, she sensed the world waiting for her. For the first time in years, Lyra felt a flicker of something she had thought lost forever, a glimmer of hope, fragile yet unstoppable. And so, her journey began, a path of discovery, courage, and the human ingenuity that might one day return her gift of sight. Little did Lyra know, this was just the beginning. The world beyond her blindness held wonders she could not yet imagine, challenges that would test her heart, and allies who would teach her the true strength of seeing, not just with eyes, but with understanding. The days on Zithra were long and full of strange sounds. Lyra had grown used to the rhythm of her village, the hum of floating gardens, the whisper of rivers, the voices of neighbors as they called to one another across the violet skies. But now, with the humans' arrival, her world had expanded in ways she could barely imagine. Every morning she met with Dr. Amara Voss and the team of human scientists. They had built a small lab in the center of the village, filled with devices that hummed, whirred, and projected soft glowing lights. Though Lyra could not see, she could feel the vibrations of the machines under her fingertips, sense the rhythm of their movements, and hear the subtle differences in pitch when they shifted energy. "Your brain is remarkable, Doctor," Voss told her one morning, adjusting a delicate instrument near Lyra's eyes. "Even though your eyes have not worked in 15 years, your neural pathways still remember light. Your mind can learn to see again. You just need to guide it." Lyra listened carefully, trying to imagine what seeing might feel like. She had learned to see the world in her mind using sounds, echoes, and vibrations. Trees were rough or smooth, rivers were fast or slow, the wind whispered across hills. But none of it compared to the idea of light, colors, shapes, motion, all things she had only dreamed of. Her training began with tiny sparks of color projected directly into her mind using the Lumina mapper. At first, it was overwhelming. Blinding flashes, shifting patterns, and bursts of energy made her dizzy. She stumbled, her body trembling with the effort of adjusting to sensations she had never experienced before. Captain Elias Thorne stood nearby, offering encouragement. "Take your time, Lyra," he said. "Every step, no matter how small, brings you closer to seeing again. You've learned to move through the world without sight. Now, you'll learn to move through it with it." Lyra nodded, determination steadying her. She could not afford to be afraid. Each session left her exhausted, yet she felt alive in a way she had not felt for years. Her other senses sharpened even more. She could hear the subtle hum of energy fields, feel the minute vibrations of the ground, and smell the faint scent of metals and machines mixing with Zithra's natural aromas. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, the flashes began to make sense. Lyra began recognizing shapes, a small ball moving across the table, the outline of her hand as she reached toward it, the curve of a tree branch against the sky. Colors were strange at first, bright, vivid, and almost painful, but her mind learned to process them. Blue became a soft river, green a waving forest, orange a warm glow of sunlight. The humans were astonished. "You're learning faster than we anticipated," said Dr. Voss. "Most of our patients need months to adapt. You're doing it in weeks." Lyra smiled, though no one could see it. She felt a thrill deep inside her chest. For the first time in 15 years, she felt that the world might truly be hers again, not just through memory and sound, but with sight. One afternoon, while practicing in the lab, a sudden storm swept across the floating city. Zithra's twin suns disappeared behind thick, swirling clouds, and the wind whipped through the lab. Most of the villagers would have been frightened, but Lyra felt a surge of excitement. She could hear the storm in a way no one else could, the distant roar of lightning, the hum of charged air, the whisper of shifting buildings. "Lyra, come with me," Captain Thorne said, taking her hand. "I want you to experience something outside." He led her to the edge of the city, where the storm painted the sky in streaks of violet and silver. Lyra could hear the crackle of electricity in the air and smell the metallic tang of ozone. Then, as a sudden bolt of lightning split the sky, something miraculous happened. A tiny glimmer of light danced across her retinas. Lyra gasped, stumbling back. She could feel shapes in the darkness, but now a faint shimmer of color accompanied them. The humans rushed to her side, smiling and cheering quietly. Dr. Voss adjusted the lumina mapper, carefully guiding the energy into Lyra's eyes. "You're seeing it, Lyra. Not fully, but it's there," Dr. Voss whispered. "The more you practice, the stronger it will become." Over the next weeks, Lyra trained harder than ever. She moved through her village with guidance from the humans, learning to identify objects by both sight and sound. She discovered that colors had weight in a strange way. Blue was soft and calming, green lively and steady, red sharp and urgent. She learned to identify her friends by the combination of their voices, the rhythm of their steps, and now, the color of the clothing they wore. Lyra also began exploring the forests near her village. Humans accompanied her, building devices that projected holographic guides in front of her so she could safely navigate the terrain. She ran her fingers along leaves, heard the chatter of alien birds, and felt the soft glow of bioluminescent plants. But now, she could see them too, tiny lights blinking like stars on the branches, colors blending in a symphony she had never imagined. One day, while wandering through a grove, Lyra paused before a small stream. She could see the water glimmering under the sunlight, each ripple reflecting silver and gold. For a moment, she simply stood, letting the sensation wash over her. 15 years of darkness had not prepared her for this. She felt tears streaming down her face, but not from pain, from joy, wonder, and the sheer impossibility of the moment. Captain Thorne watched from a short distance away, quietly proud. "You're not just regaining sight, Lyra," he said softly. "You're teaching us how to see in ways we never could have imagined." The humans and Zitharans alike began to take notice of Lyra's progress. She became a symbol of perseverance, curiosity, and the power of collaboration. Villagers came to watch her explore, amazed at how she could navigate obstacles and identify objects with a mixture of sight and sound. Even those who had once pitied her began to respect her. She had transformed her struggle into strength, but the journey was far from over. Lyra's vision was still partial, shapes were fuzzy, colors sometimes blinding, and her eyes easily fatigued. She still relied heavily on her other senses, and she had to learn to balance the new information with what she had already mastered. Yet Lyra refused to give up. Every morning she practiced with the humans, learning to focus on the smallest details. The subtle curve of a leaf, the faint shimmer of a distant star, the exact shade of her friend's clothing. She learned to anticipate movement by combining sight and sound, predicting where animals or people would go, and adjusting her steps accordingly. One evening, after a long day of training, Lyra sat atop a floating cliff, watching the twin suns set. Her eyes, though still adjusting, caught the soft orange glow reflecting off the clouds. She smiled, her heart full. She was beginning to understand the world in a way that no one had before, through the eyes of a child, the mind of a trained navigator, and the guidance of humans who believed in her. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that this was just the beginning. There were more discoveries ahead, more challenges to face, and more wonders to see. The storm had passed, leaving the world clearer, brighter, and filled with possibility. Lyra had taken her first steps into a life illuminated, not just by light, but by hope, determination, and the brilliance of human ingenuity. Lyra woke to the soft hum of Zithra's morning. Twin suns painted the sky in shades of gold and violet, and the air smelled of crisp crystal dew. Her eyes, though still adjusting, had grown stronger with each passing day. Colors were no longer confusing bursts of light. They were patterns, shapes, and textures that she could interpret. She could finally see the floating gardens, the rivers glimmering in the sun, and the city suspended above the land like a web of glass and steel. Yet despite the progress, Lyra knew she had a long way to go. Vision alone was not enough. 15 years in darkness had made her other senses sharp and reliable. She could hear the subtle rustle of the smallest leaves, feel the vibrations of footsteps from far away, and even sense the approach of creatures before they were near. Now she had to balance what she could see with what she could hear and feel, a skill far more complex than she had imagined. Dr. Amara Voss entered the lab with a bright smile. "Good morning, Lyra. Today, we'll begin exploring motion and depth perception." She gestured toward a room filled with floating orbs that glowed in different colors and sizes. "Your challenge is to track the orbs, identify their colors, and move among them without touching any. Your eyes and ears will have to work together." Lyra nodded, excitement sparking in her chest. She had grown accustomed to learning, but every new challenge felt like a key unlocking another part of the world. At first, the orbs were confusing. They moved in erratic patterns, changing speeds and directions. Lyra stumbled, knocking into a few and apologizing with a soft laugh. Captain Thorne, observing from the side, encouraged her. "Remember, Lyra, your mind can combine senses. Don't rely on sight alone. Let your instincts guide you." Slowly she adapted. Her eyes tracked the orbs while her ears and body sensed their vibrations. She leaped, twisted, and dodged, feeling as much as seeing. When she completed the course without hitting a single orb, the humans and Zitharans watching cheered. Lyra's smile was radiant, and for the first time she felt truly capable, not just surviving in a world of light but thriving. The days that followed were filled with exploration. Lyra walked through forests that shimmered with bioluminescent plants, crossed rivers where tiny creatures glimmered in silver and blue, and climbed cliffs that floated high above the valleys. Every step was a lesson. Every leaf, every ripple of water, every sound of wind carried meaning. Humans were amazed at her progress. "Lyra is teaching us as much as we teach her," Dr. Voss remarked one evening. "Her senses and instincts combine in ways our technology can't replicate. She's helping us see Zithra in a way we never could before." Lyra also began to notice subtleties in color and light that others missed. The way shadows fell across leaves, the soft gradient of the rivers under the twin suns, the faint shimmer of distant mountains, all of it filled her mind with wonder. She realized that seeing was not just about vision, it was about understanding the world in a deeper way. One afternoon, while exploring a grove near her village, Lyra heard a faint rustling in the bushes. Her eyes immediately caught movement, a small creature with wings that reflected green and gold in the sunlight. She froze, observing its delicate patterns, the way it moved, the the glint of light on its tiny body. The creature paused, studied her, and then flitted away. Lyra laughed quietly, feeling a thrill of connection with the world she had only imagined before. Her confidence grew, but so did the challenges. Seeing the world was exhilarating, but it also made her aware of dangers she had never noticed. Sharp rocks, sudden drops, or fast-moving rivers required careful attention. Humans and Zitherans accompanied her on longer journeys, but Lyra began to navigate alone for short stretches. She learned to read the subtle changes in color, shape, and shadow to anticipate obstacles. One day, the village faced a sudden emergency. A section of the floating gardens had begun to collapse due to structural instability, threatening nearby homes. Villagers panicked, unsure how to respond. Lyra's training allowed her to act. She quickly assessed the situation, using her sight and keen senses to guide children and elders to safety. She instructed some to hold stabilizers while others moved objects to secure the area. Humans assisted with machines, but Lyra's instincts and observations directed the entire operation. When the danger passed, the villagers looked at her with awe. "You can see, but you also understand in ways none of us can," her mother said, tears in her eyes. "You've truly become a bridge between worlds, Lyra." That evening, Lyra sat atop a cliff, reflecting on everything she had learned. 15 years ago, she had been trapped in darkness, dependent on memory and sound. Now she could see, hear, and feel the world in harmony. She realized that losing her sight had given her a gift she might never have appreciated otherwise: a deeper connection to the environment, a keen understanding of movement, sound, and light, and an unshakable resilience. Humans continued to work with her, eager to understand the ways she perceived the world. Lyra found joy in teaching them, showing how subtle shifts in sound and vibration could signal changes in the environment, how to navigate complex terrain, and how to notice small patterns that might otherwise go unseen. It was a partnership built on respect and curiosity. Captain Thorne approached her one evening. "Lyra, you've come further than any of us imagined. You've regained sight, yes, but more importantly, you've gained insight. You've shown humans and Zitherans alike that challenges are not limits, they are opportunities." Lyra smiled, feeling a quiet pride. "I've learned that seeing is more than just opening eyes. It's about noticing, understanding, and connecting with the world." As the suns dipped below the horizon, the sky turned a deep violet, dotted with glimmering stars. Lyra stared at the constellations, feeling their cool light on her skin. She knew there were more wonders to explore, more mysteries to uncover, and more lessons to learn. But for the first time, she felt ready. The village slept beneath the glowing sky, unaware of the quiet hero among them. Lyra had faced darkness, trained with humans, and learned to see the world anew. She had become more than just an alien girl who regained her sight. She had become a symbol of courage, perseverance, and the power of collaboration between species. Her journey was far from over. There were new places to explore, new technologies to master, and new challenges to overcome. But Lyra no longer feared the unknown. Light filled her eyes, and knowledge filled her mind. She was ready to embrace the world in all its complexity, beauty, and wonder. And somewhere deep inside, Lyra felt a spark, a reminder that she could achieve far more than she had ever dreamed. She could see, she could understand, and with the humans by her side, she could inspire the entire galaxy. Lyra closed her eyes briefly, letting the sounds, colors, and vibrations merge into a symphony of sensation. The world was alive, and she was part of it. The dark years had shaped her, but now, light guided her steps. She would face the future not as someone who had lost, but as someone who had grown, learned, and truly begun to see. Lyra woke to a crisp morning on Zithera, her heart racing with anticipation. Today was different. Weeks of training with the humans and her village had sharpened her senses, strengthened her vision, and taught her to balance sight, sound, and touch in ways she had never imagined. Today, she was ready to explore the world completely on her own, without guidance, without hesitation. The twin suns were just beginning to rise, casting a soft violet-gold glow over the floating city. Lyra stepped onto the balcony of her home, inhaling the scent of morning dew and the faint perfume of distant forests. Her eyes drank in the cityscape, the shimmering buildings, the floating gardens, the intricate bridges that glowed under sunlight. For the first time, she felt completely alive in a world she could see, understand, and appreciate. Captain Elias Thorne stood beside her, smiling warmly. "Lyra, are you ready?" he asked. "Today, you will navigate the forest alone, using everything you've learned. We will observe, but we won't interfere. You've earned this moment." Lyra nodded, a thrill of excitement running through her veins. "I'm ready," she replied. Her voice carried confidence, though inside a flicker of nervousness remained. 15 years ago, darkness had been her only companion. Now, the light stretched before her like a vast, uncharted ocean. She stepped off the balcony and began her journey toward the luminescent forest, a dense grove of glowing plants and trees renowned for their vibrant colors and shifting lights. Lyra moved gracefully, guided by sight and her finely tuned senses. She felt the soft hum of energy in the air, heard the delicate rustle of leaves, and noticed the subtle changes in shadow and light. Every step was a lesson, every glance an opportunity. As she entered the forest, Lyra's eyes widened. Sunlight filtered through violet leaves, casting intricate patterns on the ground. Tiny creatures, invisible to most Zitherans, darted across branches, their wings shimmering with gold and green. Streams of light danced across moss-covered rocks, and the faint song of the wind through crystalline leaves filled the air with music. For a moment, Lyra simply stood, letting the world wash over her. She realized that she had not just regained sight, she had learned to see in a deeper way, combining vision with the intuition and awareness honed during her years of blindness. Every detail, every movement, every color carried meaning. She could sense life itself in the forest, from the tiniest insect to the tallest tree. Suddenly, she heard a faint cry, a sound out of place in the gentle harmony of the forest. Lyra's eyes scanned the trees, spotting movement near a collapsed bridge. A small group of young Zitharan children had wandered too far and were trapped, frightened and unable to cross back. Lyra acted without hesitation. She sprinted toward the children, her eyes calculating distance, her ears picking up subtle shifts in sound, her instincts guiding her through the uneven terrain. Using a combination of sight and touch, she guided the children across safely. She reassured them with gentle words and laughter, masking her own adrenaline. By the time the humans arrived, observing from a safe distance, the children were safe and calm. Captain Thorne approached, clapping his hands softly. "Lyra, that was incredible," he said. "You navigated danger, understood the environment, and saved lives all at once. You've mastered more than sight. You've mastered perception itself." Lyra's chest swelled with pride, but she smiled modestly. "I learned from years of listening, feeling, and observing." "Sight was just the final piece," she replied. "The world has always been there. I just had to learn how to understand it fully." News of Lyra's accomplishments spread quickly through the village and beyond. She became a symbol of courage, resilience, and the amazing potential of collaboration between humans and Zitharans. Humans admired her determination and ingenuity, while Zitharans marveled at her ability to merge senses and navigate the world in ways previously thought impossible. With each passing day, Lyra continued to explore, discovering wonders that she had never imagined. She climbed the floating cliffs, seeing distant waterfalls shimmer like liquid silver. She ventured into forests dense with luminescent plants, tracing the patterns of light as if reading a living book. She even studied the creatures of Zithara, noting the subtle colors, movements, and interactions that others often overlooked. Dr. Voss watched Lyra closely, recording data and making notes. Lyra is more than just a patient, she said to Captain Thorne one evening. She's a teacher, a guide. Her perception, her understanding of the world, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered. She's showing us how humans and Zitherans can work together to achieve incredible things. Lyra also found joy in teaching. She began showing Zitharan children how to combine senses, how to understand the subtle movements of the world, and how to appreciate beauty beyond surface appearances. She worked with humans, demonstrating how observation and intuition could complement technology, creating solutions that neither species could achieve alone. One evening, after a long day of exploration and teaching, Lyra returned to her favorite cliff overlooking the city. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky with a dazzling palette of gold, violet, and crimson. The rivers reflected the colors, and the floating gardens glowed like constellations. She took a deep breath, feeling the wind, smelling the forest, hearing the distant laughter of villagers, all while seeing the intricate details of the world around her. For a moment, she closed her eyes, remembering the darkness of her childhood. She had feared she would never see again, that the world would remain forever beyond her reach. But now, light filled her eyes, knowledge filled her mind, and courage filled her heart. She realized that the years of darkness had prepared her for this moment, shaping her into someone capable of understanding the world more deeply than anyone else. Captain Thorne joined her, standing silently as they watched the sunset. "Lyra," he said softly, "you've done more than regain sight. You've shown us what's possible when determination meets opportunity, when courage meets guidance, and when humans and Zitherans work together. You're a hero, not just for your village but for all of Zithera." Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth that spread through her chest. "I didn't do it alone," she replied. "I had guidance, technology, and friends. The world is bigger than any one being. We grow stronger when we learn from each other." As night fell, stars emerged above Zithera, glimmering in the violet sky. Lyra gazed at them, marveling at the tiny points of light that stretched across the horizon. For the first time, she felt that nothing was impossible. She could explore, discover, and achieve anything she set her mind to. The years of darkness had ended, but the adventure had only just begun. Lyra's story inspired many. Humans studying Zithera incorporated her insights into their research, creating devices that mimicked her sensory perception. Zitherans began to appreciate the power of intuition, observation, and collaboration. And Lyra herself continued to grow, exploring every corner of her world, learning from its inhabitants and teaching others how to see, not just with eyes, but with understanding, curiosity, and heart. One morning, Lyra stood atop the highest cliff, looking down at her village and the forests beyond. She could see every detail: the glint of the rivers, the shimmer of the floating gardens, the tiny paths winding through the forests. She felt a deep connection to everything: the land, the creatures, the people, the humans who had come from another world. A soft breeze rustled her hair as she whispered to herself, "The world is beautiful, and now I can truly see it." In that moment, Lyra understood that sight was more than just the ability to perceive light. It was the ability to connect, to understand, to grow, and to inspire. She had traveled a long journey from darkness to light, from fear to courage, from helplessness to empowerment. And she knew that her journey was far from over. There were worlds to explore, mysteries to uncover, and challenges to face. But for now, she stood in the light, fully alive, fully seen, and ready for everything the universe had to offer. And so, the alien girl who had once known only darkness became a beacon of hope, courage, and collaboration. A symbol that even in the face of impossible challenges, light, knowledge, and determination can illuminate the path to greatness.